And hello, everybody, and welcome to week 5 of the Crystal Crusaders Side Stories Elquill edition. I'm your DM, Brad, joined today by Thor, who will be once more reprising his role as Elquill for this week's adventure. And before we get things kicked off, basically, it's been a couple of weeks. I had to call off last week, but that's fine. Um, we will begin with just a short recap of what happened last time before picking up from where we left off. So, if you would please, Thor, tell us what happened last time.
So last time, me and Rengar had been Rengar. That's his name. Yes, just check. Who's correct? Hengar. Hengar
Hangar,
was it? It was
yes.
like Rengar and Hengar are two similar names. But yeah, me and Hengar was had been traveling towards or after having finished our camp for the first day out from Tourmaline. We started heading towards Kelvin's Cairn the day after. During that day, a snowstorm started to come on. There was like a large blizzard. Um, we realized that traveling during the blizzard might lose us time because like we might get lost or you know whatever. So we decided to just stop and kind of hunker down, like dig ourselves a little like snow pit or whatever, using the shovel I had bought, and tried to just wait out the blizzard. During that time, a mysterious silhouette appeared in the blizzard. We could hear like some footsteps, or no, we didn't hear the footsteps. We saw just a silhouette, looked like a humanoid silhouette, like walking around. Curious as to who that might be, Alquill called out for the silhouette, and the silhouette started coming towards us. As it came closer, we saw that it was like this almost naked ragged-head man who had like eyes sticking out of him, and he was holding this large black ice axe in his hand, and his eyes was just completely crazed, and he was mumbling something over and over. I don't remember exactly what he was mumbling, but he was like saying something over and over. And upon seeing me and Hangar, he attacked us. We defeated that guy, killed him, and then inspected the ice axe and realized it was like a much finer craft than what I had seen back 9 years ago when the Black Ice first plagued the Icewind Dale. Well, at least first, as far as we know. Um, and then we then afterwards we started. We after we had dealt with that, waited for Blizzard to blow over. It finished after like I think 4 hours it was, and then we traveled to the Kelvin's cairn. On the way to the cairn, or like as we reached the foot of the cairn, we started hearing like dogs, and as we got closer, we saw like a tipped over sled, a pack of dogs who were um, like had broken into like a they looked malnourished and starving, and looking over there was like a crate that had been toppled over and broken into, which presumably was food. Alquil cast speak with animals and like converse to the dogs. Their masters had, or sled runners had climbed up the mountain like a long time ago, and the dogs had sort of been left there, and since as they had grown desperate, they had broken into the crate. I fed them. Me and Hanger fed them some food and rations so that they would calm down a bit. And understanding that they were hired dogs from Tourmaline, I believe it was. We I just let them go out of the harnessed so that they could run back to Tourmaline on their own. After that, me and Hangar decided to start climbing up the mountain, trying to follow these climbers that might have gone off before us. And we were climbing up. We passed by some goats, managed to pass them by without stirring up any trouble. And then a little bit after, we heard like a large or loud sound from up above, and then an avalanche came. However, using the divine power of Gvarund Windstrom, we uh, managed to keep ourselves hanging onto the side of the mountain only taking some slight damage from the falling snow. And I think that was the last thing that happened.
Yeah, so I think the last thing we left off on was after you had uh, powered through the avalanche, preventing it from sending you tumbling down the mountain and kind of resetting your progress. I
Mm.
think you and Hangar were kind of traveling across like an area basically where there was like a big sheer like cliff to one side, and so you were kind of traveling around looking for like a way further up, and you noticed ahead of you on the path. There's this sort of like steep snow covered incline that is dotted with all these jagged rocks and whatnot. And saw like there's basically like a cliff kind of that goes down the mountain. You saw sort of near that cliff, face down in the snow, like almost completely covered over what looks to be like a humanoid in rather heavily blood-stained cold weather clothing. And from this distance, you could not tell basically whether they were alive or dead or what. But you saw them basically
Yes,
up ahead.
that's right. I was about to approach them. Um, So yes, I was gonna ask. So basically, as we see those, I would look around quickly to see if like I can see the uh, any other creatures or something that would be like the cause of them like lying on the ground. And if I didn't see anything else untowards, I would just run up to this person.
Sure, make a perception check.
All right, I clicked on it.
There it
There we
is.
go. 10.
Yeah, a quick look around. Again, like you see these basically like these jagged sort of like rock formations like sticking out of the side of the mountain. It does make it difficult because from where you are, they're kind of like up a ways, so you can't really see if there's anything on top of them. But you don't see any visible signs or like hear any sounds of any nearby creatures in a quick sort of like glance. But again, there's a lot of blind spots that are hard to account
All
for.
right. So I'll say to Hangar, uh, keep a lookout. I'll check if he's alive or dead. And then I'll run up towards the body.
Yeah, Hangar nods, sort of like hanging back a little bit, like moving more towards where those like jagged slopes are, just in case like something emerges from there to cover you while you run
Yep.
over. And so as you run over to this figure, you see that it appears to be this sort of rugged, bearded man, probably in his like late 20s, early 30s. He is wearing this sort of like very heavy, cold weather clothing, as is typical. And you can see he's got
Mm.
some like climbing equipment on him, and a few like weapons. He seems to have like a longbow and like a short sword or some sort. But like it looks like he had a backpack, but it's been like ripped and torn off. Like you can see the straps basically where it used to be, but the rest of the actual backpack itself is missing. Um, and yeah, as you go over to him, I think it becomes pretty like clear pretty quickly that he is no longer living. It seems as though he had been judging by the look of it. Can you make a medicine check for me?
Sure.
Yeah, you can basically like tell. It looks as though he's been dead for a couple of days now. The like frostbite has basically kind of like his flesh is beginning to sort of like freeze black, and it's remarkably well preserved, as people who die up here in the mountains tend to be by the harsh cold and the elements. He and as you're looking him over, you like flip him over and you see his face. I think you, given your like past history and whatnot, would probably recognize him. Um, you're not too like familiar, like you weren't really like friends or anything like that, but you were in the same line of work. This man, he was his name was Garrett, and he was sort of like a wilderness guide, similar to how you were. It seems as though he met with an unfortunate fate on an outing, probably guiding somebody up this mountain. You're not entirely sure why.
All right. Did he? Because I remember from back when I was in Prince Shannon, it was like most people didn't want to risk the cairn. From what I know of Garrett, would he seem like the kind of guy to risk the cairn? Like I guess like how much would he have to be paid in order to risk the cairn is what I would be asking.
It probably would have been knowing Garrett. He was a bit like headstrong, so he probably would have been more willing than other people, right? He was sort of in his prime and very like youthful and headstrong and a little bit arrogant, perhaps. So he might
Ah,
have been like pushed to do it, but he still probably would have charged like a pretty penny to guide someone up this mountain.
yeah. All right. So seeing that he is dead, uh, such, I'm just gonna. I mean, I have 5 of these. Why not? I'm just gonna use divine sense very quickly to make sure that he is, in fact, dead and not undead. Thing.
Okay. As you reach out your senses into the surrounding area and especially directing them towards the corpse of this climber, you do not detect the presence of any undead or fiends or anything of the likes in the area. But as you are sort of like looking over the body, you're like kneeled down. You've been looking at it for like a couple of minutes now.
Mm.
You hear this sort of like this sound. And I think you immediately recognize it as the sort of like the sound of some sort of like large like mountain dwelling feline creature, and thinking about like what that could possibly be, um,
Crag cat.
you have a good feeling that there are probably crag cats approaching this location, driven here perhaps by the scent of this dying creature. And as Hengar like hears this as well, he sort of like backs up a step like towards you, drawing his axe, and he says, "I think that we have company."
I'll like stand up and like draw out my own axe and it's like, yes, I hear them too.
All right, and
Um,
yeah, as you're there, you kind of like maybe like back up next to Hangar, kind of covering each other's
yep.
backs, and you basically see that on the ridges up above, where the rock formations are sort of jutting out of the mountain, you barely see these two white furred large cats, crag cats, sort of emerging amidst the snow covering, very well hidden by their camouflage. You basically barely even noticed they were there as they were approaching, and they sort of like roar loudly and seem intent on sort of like basically like they're about to pounce. Um, what do you do? Do you try to like do anything to alleviate this threat, or are you just going to receive their assault and try to fight them off?
Um, um, I mean, I guess let's see, 'cause as this is gonna sound callous,
Hmm.
but as like this corpse isn't like doing much good anyway. Um, I'm just thinking like, how important is burials in Icewind Dale's like
Um,
um traditions?
I mean, I feel like in just like the Icewind Dale basically has the same sort of like religious practices as everywhere else. Although for the most part they tend to be maybe a little bit more like skeptics and the likes, given like the types of people that wound up here, um, and the type of environment. But I would still say it's probably about as like important uh, for like every other kind of like religion, right? Like if they don't get a proper burial, there's a chance their spirit might linger or something like that, or they won't be able to like pass on to wherever they belong in the afterlife or whatever. Um,
All right. In that case, I am gonna uh, try and throw. Well, actually, just check how many spell slots do I have. Should. But I already used one for speak with animal. Let's apparently remove that one. So
Yeah, because you
I'm
used it to speak with the dogs.
yes. Oh, I'm gonna cast Speak with Animal.
Okay.
I assume these are animals, and I will like say uh shout out at the cats or like it's just like um it's just there is no need to attack. I have food which I can share.
Yeah, so you see they're sort of like crouched down, like ready to pounce, and you hear this sort of like loud like meow, this cat roar that like echoes through the area. Especially up this mountainous area, it kind of echoes through. And as you cast the spell, you can hear like one of them basically sort of saying, it's like, "At last, pray," and you like sort of say that, and I think there's like a moment of just like confusion. I think like on these creatures' faces, um,
Yeah,
as they're just
I'll
like they're not really like sure what to think of like this person, like their prey like talking back to them like.
yeah I'll get out like a pair of rations and like with like holding my battle axe one hand. I'll just try and like get a ration out of my backpack and like hold it out so they can see and like try and toss it towards the closest one.
Um, sure. Yeah. So you pull out the rations, like tossing it into the snow in front of you. Let me just look something up really quick here. Where the hell is it? No, I don't want puzzles. Puzzles are stupid.
It's 2 pounds
Okay,
in terms of
here we
weight.
go. Okay. So yeah, as you're sort of like tossing forward these rations, can you make for me? Um, I guess you're kind of talking. Make a persuasion check. Um,
Persuasion. I should.
yeah, so you like toss these rations forward, and and it's probably like dried meats and cheese and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And they sort of like look at it like sniffing in the air, and they just sort of I guess like look at you, and one of them just sort of like hops down a bit, like approaching a bit closer, and
Mm-hmm.
they say, "What is that? It smells delicious, but such a small quantity."
Uh,
And the
they're a
other
bit.
one sort of like hops down. And Hangar's just like, "They're getting closer, Alquill."
I just like I know. Calm down. Just like just back away a little bit, and I guess I'll get out 3 other rations, like toss one more towards the one that's like already like has one there, and then 2 more towards one the like 2 more toward ones that doesn't like have a ration close by.
Sure, yeah. So you toss out like a bit more, and they move up basically to like where you've like tossed it and begin sort of like nibbling at it a bit, like kind of sniffing it hesitantly before like one of them just like sort of takes a bite and basically is just like good and like begins like scarfing down the rest, and it seems as though they're like distracted by eating this for the time being and like cease
Right.
to
I'll like slowly move back towards the body, uh, grab it and lift it, and like, but also motion to Hangar for it to like, let's go, and then like start like motion towards like try and find a way we can go away from them, like just slowly, with hopefully without them, attacking us.
Sure, yeah. So you run back, like grab the fallen climber, motioning for Hangar to follow you, and you very carefully sort of while they're um, consumed in the process of eating these rations that you've thrown out, sort of slowly back away and kind of like reroute yourselves somewhere else to like approach this sort of incline from a different angle. And it seems as though you managed to sort of back away without them attacking or getting angered or anything like that, as you manage to drag the climber's body away to a more open area.
Yep. All right. So after I've moved the body away, I'll or like after we've gotten out of like hopefully like harm's way from the cats, I'll just say to Hangar like, it's just like this one. I know this one, not particularly well, but he was Garrett, another guide here in the amongst the people of the 10 towns. Says looks like he's met his fate here at the cairn.
Hangar sort of like
Uh,
nods. It is unfortunate, but many lose their lives on these peaks each year.
Nod. The strange thing though is that it seems somebody ripped off his backpack. I could see the remains of the strap, but the backpack is not there.
And he just sort of like kind of like squints a bit, and he sort of says, "I see that, but why would anybody steal his? Surely all he had was supplies and the likes."
Indeed, that's what's strange about it. An animal wouldn't steal his backpack.
And as he's sort of like looking over, and he says, "Hey, what's that?" And he kind of like crouches down and like begins like prying at the man's like hands. Now that he's been like pulled out of the snow, you could see that there is
Mm-hmm.
something sort of like clutched basically like in his hand. It looks like a like small like basically just like crumpled up piece of paper or something of the likes. And as he like peels back the fingers and like pulls it out and looks it over, and he sort of says, "It looks like a something of a will, I suppose you could say. Must have wrote it in his last breaths."
I'll like put the like body down gently to like look at over at this piece of paper.
Yeah, so looking at the piece of paper, it's almost like half will and like half just like explaining a little bit about like what happened. Um
Mm-hmm.
like he was just like writing basically in his last like dying moments, just like writing everything that came to mind. So there's like a section at the bottom basically where he's just like basically saying like, "Oh yeah, leave. You know, if I should be found or my stuff like recovered, I would like to be brought back to my home in Targus, etc. etc." And he like has like a he lists uh like a wife or something of the likes, who he says to contact basically. And then there's a bit in the letter where he basically is just like talking about like how he was like such an idiot and he should have never taken this job, and these adventurers were just like they're lunatics, you know. He mentions basically that they were ambushed on the way up the path by a large creature that he did not really get a good glimpse of, but based on the sounds, perhaps some sort of like Yeti or the likes, as he basically kind of like led. They were ambushed. He like led one of them off to try to buy the adventurers time and managed to escape. But he was unsure of the fates of these adventures, and he mentioned that there were three of them that he traveled up the mountain with.
Mm-hmm.
A Goliath, a halfling, and a tiefling.
I have teeth, right? And that lines up with how many people were supposed to have left the dogs, from the looks of things. Uh, half right. So they're also up here somewhere then, possibly. And they
Yeah,
were
but he
attacked by.
yeah, he does not know their fates, and he does not know what the creature that he didn't see the creature, but he assumes that it was probably a yeti based on like the flashes of what he saw.
Yeah. Right. So after reading this, I'll nod kind of to it's just like I see this. So there's three others also up here, or were at least. Um, it doesn't mention anything about what the adventurers wanted or anything.
No. Either he didn't know or he just didn't think to like write it basically in his hasty scrawlings.
Yeah. Well, whatever it was that attacked him, it took his backpack. It says if it was the adventurers, they would have taken. I imagine they would have taken the straps instead of ripping it off his back. But what would a Yeti do with a backpack? Well, other than food, but I imagine there was more than just food in the backpack.
And he just sort of shrugs and says, "It might not have even been intentional. If he was running away, like he said, it might have just swiped at his back and happened to rip the backpack off.
True, but wouldn't the straps have fallen off much sooner?
Depends on how hard he was clinging for his life."
Hmm. I suppose. Uh, this, well, in any case, I'd hate to leave him here since he did mention a wish to be brought back to Targos, but I don't know how long I can carry around his body for. Yes.
And Hangar just sort of shakes his head and says, "It is difficult enough with the two of us climbing this mountain as we are. We cannot afford to drag around the corpse with us. Much as I wish that we could fulfill his dying wishes, I fear we will have to leave him here and pray that either we can return when we are done or someone else comes upon him."
Well, if we're leaving him here, I think it best to take the time and at the very least bury him. Says it's not the most sightly of places, but it's better than nothing. And I'd hate for his spirit to be angered by being left out in the cold. Undead are created that way.
Hagar nods and sees as "I have seen them, the cold light walkers." He nods and he sort of says, "We should at least bury him. I agree. Not that the snow will prove much of a decent burial ground, but it is better than nothing, as you say."
Indeed. So I'll take a shovel. Are there any trees nearby, by the way?
Not this high up on the mountain. There's not really
Ah,
enough, basically, air for the trees to thrive up here. You've kind of
yeah.
hit the point where there's
Uh,
just nothing.
yeah. I don't have any disposable wood either to use to. Oh well. Um, I'll just use the shovel then and bury up, or like dig up a pit. We can lay the body down into.
All right, so yeah, so you spend it takes like a couple of hours basically to like dig into the snow enough to like lay the body inside and then cover it back up.
Hmm.
So you go through this process of burying it in the snow, and yeah, you kind of finish, maybe like pile up like a little like mound of snow at the base just to like mark it for a bit. Obviously, it'll kind of be blown away or covered up eventually, but um,
Yeah, and I'll
I
try and
suppose
remember
you
this
could like
placing.
he had like some he had like a bow or something on him. You could like stick the bow in there or something like that just to
Oh, yeah,
serve
as a
as a
marker.
temporary marker.
Yeah, I'll do that. So there you go, Garrett. See, so If I do come across this way on my way down, I'll see if I can bring you back to Targos for something better. And then I'll look around and says like, well, we should see if we can climb further.
Hangar sort of nods and he says, that incline seems our best bet. It was rough going, a lot of jagged rock formations, but uh, I do not see another way further up the mountain.
Yes, perhaps we should return and check if the cats have gone.
Yes, he nods and just sort of says, lead the way, and I will follow.
I nod. Yes, and I'll start moving back towards the
All right.
incline, but try and be quiet. I know it's not, or at least when we start approaching, I'll try and be as quiet as I can. I know it's not the easiest thing with heavy armor, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the crunching in the snow and whatnot. But yeah, no, as you're, I'm not gonna make you roll for it because as you arrive, you see that there's like a little bit of a like a mess basically where the cats had like thrown around the rations, like consuming them and whatnot, tossed aside
mhm.
whatever they didn't want to eat, or whatever the hell it is. And you can see though that they are no longer, they are nowhere to be seen, it seems, in the prevailing couple of hours while you were burying the corpse. They have moved on elsewhere.
Good, good. Um, Off we go then. Continue climbing.
All right. So as you begin to ascend this slope, I am going to need you, as well as Hangar here, to make a series of athletics checks, and you have advantage because of your climbing equipment. So basically, um, you and he are going to make a series of athletics checks, basically, and if you succeed, then you make progress. If you fail, then it basically like an hour passes and you've not made any progress. And then once you get through three of those total, then you will have reached the top of this slope.
All
So
right.
let us do that then.
23.
Whisper. All right, and oh yeah, easily enough for the first section as you ascend up the pathway.
All right. 19.
19 and 19. All right, yep, same. Still making very good progress. The two of you.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a. All right. So um, that is it's still like a group success because of the average of the two rolls. However, you did not meet the DC. So by the end of this third leg of the climb, as you're ascending up the mountain and kind of like reaching the peak of where this slope kind of once again meets with sort of like ledges and the likes, and you'll have to like move around. You find your muscles sort of like screaming in agony, and your breath haggard, and you gain one level of exhaustion.
Oh no. Uh, there's no place to add condition here, is there?
I think there's like a thing where you have to like opt into it on the sheet. Thought somebody saw the one time there was like a way to track exhaustion on these sheets. I don't know,
Show
but
exhaustion traction. Yes.
yeah.
Exhaustion traction. Find it. Ah, there it is. Level 1. Disadvantage on ability checks. Ah, it just tells me that automatically. Nice, nice, nice. Well, yep. So so once we've gotten to the top, I'll just give me like a few minutes.
And he just sort of like nods and says, you look like you had a rough time of it when that ledge collapsed on our way up."
Yeah, that's wasn't fully expected, but we made it. That's the important part.
It is more than some people can say, at least, and I think that we are nearing our destination at least. He's like gazing down like off into it's very like misty and like snowy and right, so you can't really see too far, but he's kind of like gazing off the side of the mountain.
Hmm.
It's like we have certainly come up a long way.
Uh, yes. This is. I'll try and like look up and just like see if I can like tell what time of day it is.
Um it's difficult due to all the, like the cloud and like snow cover. But it seems to be sort of I think you would like you arrived like in the early in the day. I think you arrived like midday, and you've been climbing the mountain all day, so it's probably getting close to like nighttime at this point.
Mm. Perhaps we should look for a good place to rest. 'Cause don't know how much more daylight we're gonna have.
And he sort of nods and says, I suppose we could keep an eye out. He says, I don't know about here, but perhaps there is somewhere close by.
Yes. That's we we'll try we'll move along, but try and see if we can see if we can find some place that's could give more better shelter.
And sort of nods and says, right, we'll wait here a bit, and when you feel as though you're ready, let us head off.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll probably like catch my breath for like 5, 10 minutes maybe
Okay.
for getting up.
All right. Yes, you get up and I assume begin traveling along this sort of like path, quote unquote, just sort of like
Yeah,
navigating the ledges and whatnot as you make your way. And I think basically after about like another 20 minutes or so of walking, as you're sort of like keeping an eye out, you've entered more into an area where you're kind of like between like different peaks, right? So you're in this sort of like low kind of like chasm valley almost between like different peaks of this mountain. I think Hangar sort of like shouts and he sort of says, "I think I see a cave up ahead or something of the likes." Um, as he gestures, you sort of like see sort of pretty like far ahead of you what looks like it might be like the opening of a cave mouth.
right. I nod. Says that is that's good. That might be shelter. Although we should be on our guard. If there's a if there's any creatures that live far up here, cave would be a perfect locale for them to take shelter themselves.
And he sort of nods and says, "And let us approach with caution."
Indeed.
He begins sort of
No,
like stepping through the snow towards this cave mouth.
yeah. Well, I'll also walk towards it.
All right. So as you get closer, you can see that the cave mouth itself is up ahead on your left. It appears to be about 15 feet in height and 10 foot wide. The sort of mouth of this cave. And as you get like closer, you're now like maybe within like 30 to 60 feet or so of it. You notice that some distance from the cave entrance, there is a spot basically in the open snow where it has been stained this sort of like reddish brown, and you see a number of like footprints of various different sizes scattering out from that location, including one that seems to be going back sort of the way that you came, still just barely visible um, in the snow at this point. Probably only because of the location of the nearby walls that have basically prevented like snow from piling up here and like covering them.
Hmm. Well, that doesn't look promising, I say. Uh, I'd wager this is where the adventurers and Garrett were attacked.
And Hangar nods and says, "That would seem likely." He says, "Do we risk the whatever might be dwelling in that cave, or Do we turn back and find somewhere else? I do not know that we have much time.
I shake my head. We I doubt we'll find. I doubt we'll find any other caves or better shelter before nightfall. So better to uh, better to deal with what we have ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, so he sort of nods, like drawing his axe.
Yeah, get out my axe as well. Let's see. That's probably dark in the cave, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it would be.
Are you able to see, or should we strike up a light?
He sort of says, alas, I am not possessed with any particularly great night vision, so if we are proceeding into the cave, then we will need some sort of light source, yes.
Yes. All right. I'll strike up a torch.
All right, yes, you strike a torch as you're sort of. I assume you're like entering towards the cave mouth to get out of like
Yeah.
the wind and the snow and whatnot. So you're
Yeah. Yeah.
striking up this torch. Um, yeah, and as you proceed forward, you can see basically into this cave, and up ahead of you, you notice that basically like there is almost immediately, kind of in the entrance of this cave, what looks to be like this large kind of chasm almost. Most of the floor of the cave has kind of like fallen inwards, and you look down and you see this sort of like 80-foot deep chasm. There is a rocky ledge that connects like this natural, like a natural stone bridge, like further into the cave that goes over the chasm, and it looks relatively stable, and then you notice sort of like to your left in the southern part of the chasm, there's this like very like thick, heavy sheet of ice that like spans the chasm that also looks to like connect further into the cave, kind of like these two different branches.
All right. So left is ice and right is like a rocky ledge. Uh, let's um let's test the ice, I think. So I'll carefully approach the left side where there's like ice and try and like carefully put my or carefully like poke it a little bit, check like how hard it might be.
Um, it's pretty hard. It seems to be about a foot thick in total. Looking at it, so as you like push on it, it's pretty like solid, and as you take like a cautionary step, it seems to be more than capable of bearing your weight. Obviously, it's slippery ice, so you'll have to be moving half speed to get across it. But so long as nobody like purposely tries to smash it in, it should be able to bear your weight and allow you to walk to the other side.
All right, I'll uh I'll proceed then.
All right. So carefully proceeding across the ice sheet, you see basically it connects over to the other side of this massive chasm, where there's like a narrow passageway that leads further in, and like around a corner, you see there's basically like a sequence of kind of like ledges, basically, that are almost sort of like a naturally formed staircase that kind of like lead slightly further down. And Hagar sort of follows after you've like finished crossing over the ice, waiting for you to finish just in case. And you can see your light is sort of shining down this the passageway at this point. And yeah, you see this staircase, and it leads down. You can see basically like it leads down and like opens up into another cavern, and seems to like end basically like at a there's like a ledge basically that this passageway leads to, and then that drops into like a larger cavern up ahead, and you can hear now like you hear like sounds basically, like something like kind of like running back and forth almost maybe, um, as you're kind of like making your way down the rock formations. Um, And
Okay.
yeah, so I assume that you make your way up to the ledge. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so it's about like a 10-foot high ledge overlooking this cave ceiling, which is about 20 feet in total from the bottom. And you see basically as you're entering, you're kind of like approaching from behind. Basically, you look out into this cavern and you see what appears to be a large white furred yeti that is sort of sitting in the on the stone floor. Um, and you hear like shouting basically, and you see kind of like on the other side of the cavern what appears to be a smaller yeti, probably like a child or something of the like, basically playing with what looks like this small humanoid bundled up in like cold leather clothing and like curled up almost like into a ball. And you this small yeti is basically like knocking this creature around. And you every so often you can hear basically like every time the yeti like kind of like pushes on the sphere, like kicking it away, you hear like a shout basically that would suggest that whatever this creature is still alive.
Huh. So as I'm looking over this, I'll like turn towards Hangar and says like, looks like there's Yetis up ahead. There's a big one and a small one. And, they seem to be kicking something around, something or another around. Um, Seems to be alive.
And he just sort of says, "What do we do? Do we try to leap in and save whoever they are, or do we just hope that they do not notice us up here?"
So it's like, well, if we were enough, not if there was enough of us to keep watch all night, we could camp out at the entrance and hope no Yeti would come out. But since that's not an option, also in the event that this is somebody who is uh this is someone who is a intelligent and humanoid creature, well, an intelligent creature at least, says I can't in good conscience just leave them a prisoner of these creatures. And say so. I say we deal with them. I've fought Yetis before. They're tough, sure, but I think I've learned enough tricks to deal with them.
He sort of nods and says, "Aye, we have vanquished many such creatures. They are strong, but one or two of them is no big deal."
Indeed. So hopefully there's no more than those two. I'll like grab my axe. The well, I guess I'm holding the torch in the other hand. Can I still have my shield attached to the arm, or do I have to let go of the shield if I'm holding the torch?
So the way that like the shields here work, they're not like the kind that you like attach to your arm. You have to actually like hold them. So yeah, if you want to hold the torch, then you have to, um, you can't be using your shield basically.
Yeah, because Hangar. I don't need a torch, but Hangar needs a torch, and I can't really do anything about that. Yeah, I don't have. I'm not a wizard. I don't have that. I don't have any. I don't have any light spells. So yeah, I'm guessing I'm holding the torch. I imagine that because like the cavern, I imagine are they just rock or are they snow covered?
It's basically just like rock, in here.
Right. So I guess once we get into combat, I can just toss the torch on the ground and it'll light up the area around it and hopefully not go out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that it go out, but probably there's a good chance it'll stay lit for at least a bit.
Yeah. All right. So I'll look at Hangar. I like hold the axe in one hand, the torch the other, shield on my back, I guess. And just ready.
And he sort of like nods as he's like drawing his axe out. Um,
All right.
all right, and
On three.
so
Let's just
my amazing map doodle here. So you guys are basically like on this ledge that's about 10 feet over the rest of the cavern. Um, and yeah, as you begin to like charge, the light kind of um, is noticed by this creature, and it sort of like lets out this loud roar, like pounding its chest. And you notice that the smaller one sort of like kicks the creature that's like curled up into a ball away, and just like startled begins like kind of like running back towards the other one. As you're making your way. So initiative. Please do not whisper. Thank you. And then this one has a add turn. 20. Wow. Imagine rolling 2 natural 20s in a row for initiative rolls. And Hengar. Nope. Unfortunately, the luck does not continue. All right, so with
well.
that, you've jumped down the ledge basically at this point.
Yeah.
You've slid down the ledge, and you're charging into battle. So, this creature, you see first and foremost, it is going to run over to here, and scoops up basically like the smaller Yeti, and like basically like places it like on its back, basically sort of like protectively, moving to place it on its back, and then it is going to turn and let me see. So that was like 20. So I don't think it can get back. No. So it can't quite get within range to attack basically. So it's sort of like backing up a little bit defensively. And actually, I think it has to be okay. So it has to do this first. You see basically like its eyes begin to glow this blue, this deep dark blue. And Alquil, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw. All right. You are more than easily able to shrug off the effects of this chilling gaze as it locks eyes with you, and then it sort of backs away. This child's just there. So Alquil, you are the first up.
Yep.
What do you do?
Is it difficult terrain or is it regular
No,
terrain?
no, it's regular terrain. It's just a cave floor. There's no ice or
All
snow
right.
or anything like that.
So I'll run up here and I'll do, like drop the torch on the ground as I'm running up, um, and shall. Can I? Do I know of any like weaknesses the Yetis have or anything?
Um, no, they don't have any particular like super weaknesses. I mean, you would know they're like completely immune to the cold, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
and um, they are like afraid of fire. They're not like weak to it, but they tend to have like an aversion to it.
Oh, okay. Um, I should torch them. Now that I'll drop the torch and I'll take the axe in two hands and I'll slash at the big one.
All right. Ooh. All right.
Assume it.
Your first swing goes wild, not making contact with the creature. Um, your second one cuts into the hide. 12 points of slashing damage. And as you move up and kind of like rake this, you notice that the smaller one kind of like lets out this very like shrill, kind of like high pitched cry, like Yeti roar, and basically like rakes at you with its claws from on the back of this other one. in response. Um, 17, probably a miss
17.
because you have
I'm not
plate
wearing my
armor. So
shield. Yeah, yeah, true. I've played
yeah,
armor. Yes, I should have
should be at least
19 currently.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So you easily sort of like deflect it out of the way with your gauntlet, basically, not just catching it. All
Yep.
right, Hangar. He is going to move up. I don't think he can quite. Yeah, he has the dash. So he's just going to dash kind of like around and like interpose himself like between this creature and um, the uh, the humanoid over there. All right. The Yeti can now use its multi attack. So it's first going to use its chilling gaze on Hangar. Hangar has to make a con save. Which
Yes, 10 feet.
he is
+4.
+4 would put it to 13. That is that is just enough. Thanks to your bonus.
Woo!
That could have been bad. And then it is going to just rake with both its claws at you, Alquil, seeing as you have damaged it. So,
Right.
for swing, a 21 for 10 points of slashing and 3 cold, which I believe you're
Yeah.
resistant to, so that becomes 1 cold.
Yes. Should be resistant. Cold.
And then the second, a 22, also hitting for 8 slashing and another 1 point of cold. So 18 slashing and 2 cold damage total, so 20 total.
Ouch.
All right. And the little Yeti is going to swing at Hengar, who sort of run around behind. But that will miss. Alco.
A small 5-foot step there. And, then I shall is it green? I'm gonna green flame blade it.
Okay.
So 25.
Definitely a hit.
This, I believe, 1d8 on the main one, and then 1d8 plus 5. Is 5 correct?
Yeah, it's plus your charisma.
Yeah, so it should be 4. So that should be a 6 then. Second.
Okay. So as these flames lash out from your sword, the Yeti just sort of like recoils, like screaming, basically, taking this fire damage, and it does like pretty heavily burn the smaller one. Just shrieks in pain. Is still like standing, but like pretty heavily like burned at this point in time. A lot of the fur is kind of like seared away. All right. And is that all?
Yeah, that is all.
Okay. Hangar. First things first. He is going to try to finish off the smaller one, seeing as it's pretty weakened and just being a nuisance. So battle axe. Nope. Just misses terribly, as is classic me when I'm rolling. So he makes another attack. That one will hit. And yeah, he is able to finish it off. So it like slices into it, and it like kind of goes limp, tumbling into the snow off of the other one's back. The other one just lets out this horrific like just cry basically as this happens. But Hengar just takes his third and final attack at it. Wow, I just need to stop rolling dice basically.
He only has one arm. Poor bastard.
Oh man. All right. So the Yeti is going to immediately turn to Hangar and make its 3 attacks against it. It also uses the other thing, but it doesn't do anything because Hangar is immune to it, having saved. So making 2 attacks, and it is doing so with disadvantage due to its fear of fire. As you dealt fire damage to it. So
Hooray.
1, 2, both of which Hangar is able to sidestep. The first one just barely, but the second
Oh
one
shit.
misses wildly.
He has a low AC.
Yeah, he basically just has like hide armor on.
Alright.
Yeah, he
I'll
doesn't.
take another 5-foot step there so I can. Oh wait, I don't have my shield on! It'll be an action to get my shield out. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. How many more years can this be? There be. Fuck it, bonus action.
Bonus action. Wow, that's a good roll.
Ouch. So Searing Smite. But it gives it disadvantage, so you know. Miss. Hit, I think.
Yeah, a 26 will hit.
For minimum damage.
It does what? Constitution save or like start burning or something like that? What does Searing Smite do? I can't remember.
Yes. Searing Smite. Searing Smite. It is. Target and target igniting flame at the start of its spell. Yeah, at the start of its. At the start of each of its
So
turn.
it deals the extra
it
damage,
makes...
and then it makes saves to like see if it continues to take damage. All right, cool. So you do that, Hangar. Seeing the opportunity as once more this creature recoils from this flame. He is going to make his 3 attacks. Hit for 10. It's still up. Not the Yeti. I need Hangar, please. Thank you. Another hit for 8. Still up. That is a miss. Unfortunately, not quite able to finish this creature off. It is basically like kind of on its last legs. Hangar like cuts deep into the fur. Like its arms are like almost like limp at this point, barely functional, but functional enough to once more swing at Hangar twice.
Yeah, but it makes a Constitution saving throw first. It's at the start of its turns.
It is successful.
Fuck. Damn you, Searing Smite.
One of these days. So 2 swings, miss, and that will hit. Hangar takes 8 points of damage total. Not too much. All right, then it's your turn, Alquil.
All right, I'll just swing at it twice.
Well, yeah, the first swing basically is enough. How do you finish this creature off?
Go for the throat, like slash the axe up at like towards like its head. I think its fur is probably gonna be too thick for me to like decapitate it. But
yeah, no.
Try and like.
But you basically can like slice its throat, and then there's like a spray of blood basically as it screams and falls backwards into the stone floor with a resounding thud. And then as this ends and you're sort of like your breathing comes to a close, you can hear the sort of like whimpering like cries of whatever that creature was that was being toyed with by the Yeti child.
Yeah, I'll turn around and like start moving towards that creature.
All right. Yeah. So you can see that like curled up in the fetal position, kind of rocking back and forth as they look up at you.
Says, greetings. Says, are you all right? I'll say, and like sort of like crouch down next to it. It's just like I'm Alquil Redmoon from Tourmaline. Says.
And still rocking back and forth. You can see now, basically, like through the heavy cold weather gear, that this appears to be a female halfling of some sort. And she sort of says, I'm fine, tired, hungry, but alive, which is more than Makingo can say. And you see, like, there's this like look in her eyes, basically just like this shock, right? Her eyes are just like wide open, just like unblinking.
This is a halfling, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's you're one of the adventurers that Garrett was showing up.
She sort of like nods. I came here with Makingo. We were hunting for I don't even know what.
Right. Just calm down. Are you injured? Sort of like look over at them.
Um, yeah. So looking, you could see that she appears to be like pretty like heavily exhausted. Um, but other than that, does not appear to have any like injuries or wounds, like notable injuries or wounds. Just suffering from quite a bit of exhaustion, basically.
All right. I'll get out a ration, like hand it over to her.
Yeah, she sort of like
Here, eat this.
grabs it and begins like picking at it a little bit, not like voraciously, but sort of taking like little nibbles at it. And she says, thank, thank you. If only, if only we had never come up to this God's forsaken place, Mokingo would still be alive. She sort of says, I'm,
Who
I'm,
is who is Makingle?
and she says, as she like tears off like a chunk of like bread or something like that. She says, he was my my best friend, uh, Goliath. I followed him up here. He was searching for some legendary figure, wanted to prove himself in battle.
Legendary figure. It's just
Some some Goliath warrior of legend or something of the likes.
I
He
see.
seemed convinced that she was up here.
See, huh? Well, I never heard of any Goliath being up here, but who knows? I say. Do you know what happened to the other? You said Makingle is dead. Do you know what happened to the Tiefling?
She sort of shakes her head. She took off running when we were attacked. Garrett, I saw he went down the mountain. Makingo was overwhelmed immediately, and I was taken prisoner. She fled further up the mountain, I think.
I see. Do you know if there's more of these? And I guess towards the area.
He sort of nods and says, there is a third one that ventures out from the cave and brings back goats occasionally and other things. I
So,
think it's the father.
and nods. Nah, I thought as much. Says, right. Well, this cave won't be safe unless we deal with that one as well. Says, it's dark outside. We were planning to camp in. Um, just take cover. Me and my friend will make sure that the other one is dealt with as well.
Sort of nods. Kind of
Just
like,
lay on hands to give myself 20 hit points back.
all right. And she like scutters off into a corner, like behind this like kind of like broken up dog sled, basically that's like piled in the corner with a bunch of like random gear. It looks like.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll like walk back to hangar and says so. You hear that? There's one more of these. Supposedly it's out hunting during the day, but probably going to return soon.
And sort of nods. And he says, then we must make ready to meet it here. He says, the question is, do we try to ambush it or do we just wait for it to arrive at the mouth of the cave? I, for one, am not exactly the, well, ambushing type, really.
No, I don't. I wouldn't say no to a good old ambush, but I'm not the most stealthy person, especially towards uh, these kind of creatures that, uh, well, they have keen smells, if I'm not mistaken. keen senses at the very least.
He sort of nods. Then I suppose we wait at the mouth of the cave for it to return home.
I nod. That is probably the safer. That is probably the best way to make sure it doesn't get past us.
All right. So
And I'll start heading my way out.
I do. I assume you basically take. You can see there's like another branch to the cave. It looks like basically like the other branch kind of like works its way around here. There's like a natural stone staircase that kind of goes up this other side.
Mm.
And as you're heading through that way, being the easiest way to get back to the entrance, you notice there's it's like a 10-foot tall like tunnel basically. That is just like as you're walking is just like strewn with what appear to be bones with like bits of flesh still like clinging to them as if it was just like recently like picked clean essentially. They are large bones, but probably no larger than kind of like a big human, tall human or something of the likes. But you notice that there's a number of like niches basically like in the wall
Mm-hmm.
that have what appear to be skulls, basically like inside of them, like frozen skulls inside of them. And you notice one of them is still sort of like whole. You see this sort of like bald-headed, kind of like gray skin. Like tattooed Goliath's head that has been like torn off and like shoved into this niche, and it's like sort of frozen. This look of just abject terror on their face.
Well, that's macabre. I'll comment as I pass by. These creatures. I didn't realize Yetis were intelligent enough for this kind of fearful display. I didn't think they would care about trophies.
Hangar kind of like shrugs and says, I cannot say how intelligent they are, but they do seem to act with some manner of, well, at least reason.
Indeed. Says this is well, almost like a ritual chamber. Well, it's more of a trophy chamber, I suppose. As I said, but the way they're displayed so meticulously makes me think of ritualistic things I've seen come across.
Sort of shrugs and says, I don't think that we should look too much into it. Let us be ready to receive the last of these Yeti and hope that it is truly the last of them.
Indeed, I agree.
Yeah, so you return basically to the entrance of the cave, and begin waiting out. It is now like pretty dark. Like there is no more of the like very light sunlight that makes it down through the heavy clouds. And you basically hear at one point, like you and Hengar kind of like taking turns, like kind of like keeping an eye out as the others kind of watching a different direction. You hear basically like this sort of like stomping noise through the snow, like heavy like crunching footsteps, and basically you see this large yeti. Slightly larger than the one that you fought in the cave, although not much more so. This large like yeti kind of like emerging out from behind one of the kind of like turns in the chasms, and you see it's got like slung under its arm this like obviously like dead limp mountain goat kind of like slung under one arm, and it's like using the other one to like pull itself forward. And you basically like you see it sees you, it like roars furiously upon seeing you, throwing the goat to the side. And I think that is where we shall end things off for this week, and next week we will pick up, and you will fight this last remaining yeti hopefully, and we'll continue from there.
Yes. Hopefully that is just a regular Yeti as well and not a super Yeti.
What? No. What? Super Yetis? Those don't exist.
I know there's two types of Yetis in the Monster Man, but I don't remember what specifically those two types were. Uh,
It's true. But also, this is this isn't exactly a high level adventure that I'm pulling this from. So,
no, sure.
not to say that I couldn't change things if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, with that, we shall end things off for this week, and we will hopefully be back next week. Probably at our normal time, hopefully. Although I don't really mind doing it earlier, I guess. Doesn't really matter to me. Whatever works best for you. So,
Yeah,
until then,
the this time worked probably better than the other time.
yeah. All right. Well, until then, so long, and we will see you then.